This is The Great Outdoors with Jason White, exploring the great outdoors in Pennsylvania and beyond. Brought to you by the Mariana Outdoorsmen Association and by Wild Acres Farm, Fishery, and Regulated Hunting Grounds. Now, The Great Outdoors with Jason White.
Hello, friends. I'm Jason White. Welcome to The Great Outdoors. Have a pretty interesting show lined up for the deer hunters across Pennsylvania, and I think even beyond Pennsylvania. We're getting ready to hopefully let some arrows fly here very soon. And my guest today is Dave Brower with Apparition Scents. Thanks for coming on today, Dave.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I'm really excited, and for those that are on video today, we're actually going to be doing a little more interactive than I normally do, so I'm really excited about that. So you actually get to see some of the products, and we're going to go through some different deer hunting tactics, techniques, some of Dave's products through Apparition Scents. But before we do that, I want to jump in and thank our sponsors, Mariana Outdoorsmen Association. You can join the MOA today with our early bird special. You get the rest of 2024 for free, and you get all of 2025 with a 2025 membership. You can do that right now at MarianaOutdoors.com. Again, that's MarianaOutdoors.com. 2.5 miles of trophy trout fishing. We have approximately 300 acres of upland bird hunting. Birds are stocked regularly, pheasant, quail, and chuckers. 1,000-yard rifle range, multiple pistol ranges, semi-automatic range, and 5-stand. Also 3D archery targets as well. So please come check us out. Again, MarianaOutdoors.com. Wild Acres Farm, Fishery, and Regulated Hunting Grounds, managed by 10 Mile Creek Outfitters. If you're looking to do a free-ranging whitetail deer hunt or a PA turkey hunt in the spring, please check us out, 10mileco.org, or give us a call at 724-579-0924. Again, no fence, no fence, no fence. And also guided trout fishing trips, weekend trips. If you want to do week-long trips, those are also available. And as always, upland bird hunting. So if you're looking for something guided with no fence, full free range, come check us out, Wild Acres. And visit Pennsylvania. For those that aren't, we're here today to talk about deer hunting in Pennsylvania. But if you're somebody that's outside of the state of PA, please come and visit PA. I cannot stress that enough. But I want to jump into, I got one thing. This is for some friends of mine. I just wanted to put this out there. Battle Axe 5K, September the 28th, down in Morris Township Volunteer Fire Department. Benefits the Volunteer Fire Department down in Nineveh, Pennsylvania. You can check them out at Morris Township Volunteer Fire Department on Facebook and also on Instagram. Great event. They're doing a trail, walk, run, obstacle run, and a 4-person team. So if you'd like to support the first responders down in Greene County, Pennsylvania, please check out Morris Township VFD for this event, September the 28th, 2024. So let's dive right into this. So, Dave, tell us a little bit about yourselves, about your products, where you guys are located, how they can, buy the products, so on and so forth.
Yeah, my name's Dave Beer. I own Apparition Scent and already went outdoors. I'm from Greene County, Pennsylvania. I live down in Dillon, right on the Pennsylvania-West Virginia state line. I've owned Apparition Scent now for about 10 years, and I just absolutely love it. I mean, the products speaks for themselves. There's many different tactics to use them. The first thing, for any deer hunter, especially in archery season, is the scent elimination. And we have a couple scent elimination products with our spray, Phantom Hunter.
For those that don't know, because some of the listeners out there are new to deer hunting, explain real quickly, when you talk about scent, what are the defense mechanisms for a deer?
It's their nose is their number one defense mechanism. I mean, they use their nose, check the wind, work the wind. So if they could smell you, you're not going to see any deer.
So going out, somebody obviously doesn't want to go out smelling like they're going on a date.
No, absolutely not. You know what I mean? That's why we have the total scent elimination products with the spray, and then we have the Phantom Hunter body wash, which you shower with that. I start showering with it in the 1st of September.
I personally think this is critical because people fail to realize that a lot of the fragrances from your soaps and shampoos, even after you wash and rinse off, stick on you.
Oh, absolutely.
So even if your clothes
They're designed to do that.
Exactly. So even if you're, realistically, even if your clothes, hunting clothes, are scent-free, but you do not have. If you have a scent on your skin,
Yeah, it's getting out there, and they're going to pick it off.
absolutely.
Because, the human being is the number one predator to the whitetail deer. The whitetail deer is king. Okay, and everybody that hunts anywhere in the whole United States, that's what they want. They want a whitetail, and a big one.
Mm-hmm.
So, with the antler restriction and everything, in our area, in Greene County and Fayette County, has always had big deer. You know what I mean? They're few and far between, but this helps you get to the situation where, I'm masked up, I'm covered up, and then, we have a couple masking sprays with an oak if you're hunting in an oak flat. We have the woodlands if you're hunting, you know what I mean? It smells like dirt pretty much. So you eliminate all your scent with the shampoo, with the spray, and then spray the cover scent on there, determining on what kind of area you're hunting in.
So typically, for me, what I normally do is I'm getting my clothes out now, and I'll actually let them go on my back patio area, let everything air out.
Yeah.
But that being said, to your point, I actually like to start body washing at least a week in advance regularly with.
Well, I make it so I start in September every year. You know what I mean? 1st of September, this comes in, comes into my shower, and that's what it is. Phantom Hunter body wash.
Phantom Hunter body wash.
And it doubles as a clothes wash, too. You just put a cap of it in with...
well, there you go. That's fantastic.
With your clothes. Wash your clothes with it.
Which is another little interesting tidbit, because I always tell people, especially if you wash your hunting clothes in a washing machine where you do use fragrance.
Yeah, I always run a cycle first to clean the machine.
Correct.
Yep.
1,000%. I want to dive into when would you use these different products, because for the listeners out there, you're not going to use all this stuff all at the same time, all throughout the duration of the year.
Like right now, before the season starts, we're a couple weeks away. Usually starts, 1st of October here in the Keystone State. I already have the Undertaker Scrape Starter, which is our dirt infused with young buck lore.
So that's this one.
Yep, that's that one, the Undertaker. So you just make a scrape in the optimal area where you're ready, where you want the shot.
Explain what a scrape is.
Okay. Okay. Well, a whitetail buck will he'll go through his territory and he'll make a scrape, which he'll dig the dirt around a hanging limb. So on that hanging limb is where we put our Nightmare orbital gland lure. This is the clear lure right there in the front. Also, we already have.
So they're doing this to mark their territory.
Yep, they'll lick it, and right there on the corner of their eye is the pre-orbital gland. It's right before the eye. And they'll rub that on that branch that they break open that hangs down underneath of that scrape. So then he'll dig it out, and he'll go through there, and he'll urinate down the back of his legs to cover his tarsal glands and get that gland lure plus, his urine in that scrape that marks his territory. So this is his. And he'll continue to check them, and when the does start to come in season, they'll mark it. So he'll know who's in estrus when it's time for the breeding to start.
So, couple questions. Would you say, I know the answer to this, but for the listeners out there, sizes of like if you're going out scouting in advance, or say like obviously you're super busy, you already got your stand hung, but you're just kind of like scouting an area, and you're looking for these scrapes. And I'll even talk about buck rubs, because bucks are starting to rub right now. The velvet's coming off.
And they're starting to scrape also. Yeah.
What does the size of the scrape typically correlate with the size of the deer?
No. The bigger the scrape usually means more.
It's being hit by multiple bucks.
Multiple bucks. So a lot of times, I'll make my scrape with the dirt and the orbital gland and, the orbital gland hemp ropes and hang them down, you know what I mean? And that buck, he'll make one right beside of him.
See that?
Yeah,
so basically you're taking, for anybody that can see this on video, you're taking this hemp rope and hanging it above the scrape.
And it's pre-soaked with...
this is here, and then this
infused
goes on the broken limb.
Yep.
and then
that goes on the ground.
This goes on the ground. So there's kind of 3 pieces to this, we'll say, deadly combination.
Yeah, well, it's called, that's called I sell those 3 products in a package on the website, and it's called the On the Limb Pack. So that's on the Apparition Scent website, which we'll get into. We'll tell everybody how to get there and purchase the products.
So scrapes, and talk a little bit about not only can you find scrapes, obviously, but tell people how you can make your own scrape, a fake scrape.
Yeah, it's called a mock scrape, and I do it at every set that I hunt. You know what I mean? I'll have one, and I want that. I'll set it up like I set up a trap. Okay, you want that deer to step in that spot, so that's your optimal range, your best shot, because you've practiced all summer with your bow, and you know where, you got your shooting lane cleaned out, your best spot where you want him to stand to take the most ethical shot and harvest the animal that you want. And that's where I set my scrape. Say 22.5 yards is dead nuts for me.
And I want to stress the fact that, and anybody that listens to my show regularly, over the summer, we've talked about shooting lanes, cutting your shooting lanes, practicing with your bow, ethically, and also putting in that sweat equity to get your stand preparations in advance.
Oh, absolutely.
Talking about going out and looking at trails over the winter and seeing where deer are running. So now we're at the point where we are very close to hopefully sealing the deal.
Yeah. And that's what you want. I mean, that's the worst feeling in the world is catching a limb and shooting over one's back, or worse than that, actually hitting them bad. I mean, that is the worst feeling for a bow hunter.
I think I've had people that I've taken hunting, and I did not know at the time, but I know now to ask. There's people that go hunting that don't even know where to aim.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a wild thing that somebody either, I don't care if they're bow hunting or rifle hunting or shot. It doesn't matter what they're doing. But if you don't know where to aim, it's kind of like
you should never be out there. To be honest,
when you're 12 years old, you learn don't point your gun at something if you don't know what you're pointing at.
Exactly.
Well, it's the same thing with harvesting an animal. If you don't know where you're aiming, but that also goes to Dave's point about your shooting lane should be cleared. The whole goal here is you're setting this up for the shot.
Exactly.
The kill shot, which you should have practiced. Your bow should have been tuned up. You should have either maintained it yourself or taken it to that local bow shop and got it tuned up. You should be practicing.
Yeah.
Do not practice. And this is something I like to tell people too, Dave, is, don't shoot 20 yards off the ground and then you're going to go up into a tree stand, elevated position.
The angle's so
and you're going to
different.
shoot 40 yards. Your pins are going to be different. You must practice. You must practice how you're gonna shoot.
Exactly.
So, I say all these things because it's all about doing the little things when you're trying to harvest a deer. Dave, you mentioned about the acorn scent. This one's actually the woodland scent.
Yeah.
But point being, would you, if you were hunting next to a cornfield, would you use an acorn scent?
Well, no, you'd want to use, something like the woodlands is a catch-all. Like everything, it smells like dirt. So
smells like dirt.
It's a catch-all. But if I'm hunting in an oak flat, I use, the oak one, the acorn smell. And like if I'm hunting in a cornfield, I'd use the corn smell. But I don't make a corn one because it's a fine line with the rules.
Well,
so anything that smells like...
Every state's different for those out there, so just remember, no matter what products you are using, you need to know your state and federal laws.
Exactly.
It is very critical that you do know that because every state is different, obviously.
Because everything that I have here is perfectly legal in the non-CWD areas in Pennsylvania.
Which that's...
that's pretty much all of it. There's one little area up by the Mon Valley or Latrobe and that area.
So
that you can't use any urine-based.
Any urine-based lure in CWD areas is not allowed in the state of Pennsylvania.
No.
So,
but it's a small area.
Talk a little bit about, early season, in my opinion, is the time that you should be looking for acorns.
Any mass. Like, I've had a place where I've hunted since I was 12 years old. I'm not going to tell what I'm going to be next week, but it's been a long time. You know what I mean? I killed my first buck here when I was 12, and Lou killed my little niece. She killed her first buck with archery tackle last year at that same place, out of the same tree, pretty much. And it's just an old abandoned apple orchard in the middle of nowhere. Mm-hmm. And, there's about 8 apple trees in there, and them deer come in there. Well, I had, the scrape set up, and he came right, spit out an apple and came right to it. But yeah, you got to know, like the nosy whitetail is our curiosity lure. It's king in the early part of the season. You know what I mean? So you just put that all around your stand in a 20 to 25 yard area around you. You know what I mean? So early season, that's what you do. You have the scrape started, an orbital gland on the limb, and then hit that scrape with the nosy whitetail when you go in to hunt. You know what I mean? And then, as it gets into that little bit more in October, when the bucks are just starting to figure out, hey, first couple days are coming in. Because the rut isn't like it used to be. Like, you could set your clock to it. From Halloween week to November 18th was the rut. Mm-hmm. But now it's not. And I'm not 100% sure why. I guided whitetails for 21 years in Illinois. I set for a whole month. From that Halloween week till Thanksgiving, you know what I mean? And, guided people and hunted myself and saw it all unfold. I spent a lot of time in a deer stand and developed these products to make me more efficient and more, to make it better. Is it going to bring a deer from 100 miles away to you? No, it's not. But if that deer crosses your path within, 80 yards this way, 80 yards this way, and he catches the wind of this, he's coming in. And that's another thing with the Inferno and the Blind Date. That's our estrus lures. And you drag that in. But I got, these have the drip pot, you know what I mean? Yep. So I'll just flip that over and dip, drip, 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 little bit, then more as I'm getting close.
And people can use
a drag rag.
You can use a drag rag or wick stick.
But you got to start at your stand. You can't start at the truck because stronger at the truck, and they'll go the wrong way. I've had guys call me and say that. I drug from the truck and watched that buck go right. I'm like, well, you can't do it. It's stronger. It makes sense. Just like a bird dog. You have bird dogs. I have bird dogs. Hey, as close as he gets to that pheasant is when he starts to point. He'll track him for a while, or he'll cut his path, and then he'll come and turn back and lock point because that's where the strongest scent is.
I think, back to your point about the rut, I feel like for me personally, it's usually around October 20th. You're starting to see them getting fidgety. I'm just throwing out my personal experience here.
Yeah.
But I've seen bucks chasing now into rifle season.
Oh, yeah.
In the past few years, I don't know why, but it seems like it's almost like there's a second wave.
There's always been like a second wave of rut. What the thing that intrigues me the most about it, because I turkey hunt a ton, and I'm out there as much as I possibly can, and I see, it's 204 days is a gestation period of a whitetail deer. So so when you find that baby fawn and he's barely wobbling around, you count back 204 days. That's when his mama was bred. So when you see like. Now you see squirts, you know what I mean? We still have tons of spots and real little. And then you have other fawns that are, lost their spots already and are little, mature yearling, you know what I mean? First year deer. So like that range is how you look into that stuff, you know what I mean? To try to figure out when is a, because like Veterans Day was always the best day for me personally, or the first day. Either the first day of the season or that Veterans Day. I don't know if it's because we had it off from school or work and I was able to hunt more on that day, but I've killed more deer on the 11th of November than any other day.
Oh, I firmly believe that second week in November is always.
Oh, yeah.
I tell anybody.
I mean, there was years when that was shut. The season was over. If you're
hunting Pennsylvania and you can take a week off or even 3 days to hunt hard, and when I say hunt hard, I'm talking like
daylight to dark in that stand.
If it's the rut, legitimately the rut, and they're moving in the day, and the big thing, back to your point about the rut, I mean, the temperature during the day needs to be probably, I mean, I'm not exact, but probably below 45 degrees, because if it's too hot, they don't want to be, obviously they don't want to be in.
I've killed them in the hot before, because if there's a hot doe in there, it doesn't matter. But optimal temperatures for exactly. You're exactly right.
The cooler it is, they're going to be able to run longer, because it's like they can keep the heat. The heat, they'll overheat.
What happens is that doe, she'll lay down. Mm-hmm. She'll lay down, and he'll stand right over top of her, and he won't move. And he'll fend off anybody that comes around, because that smell's out there. Because the doe does the same thing. She pees down her leg, and, you know, as she's walking, it's stronger on her. As she's walking, she leaves drips, you know what I mean? And that's why I like to drip it in like that. Because if he's by himself, he's coming. With the Inferno or the Blind Date, he's coming. I mean,
well, I think another critical piece, you know, using these, even with that stuff, it's critical that you don't smell.
Exactly.
You don't want to be going in and putting perfumes and stuff where you stink from whatever you had from the night before.
Yeah.
Number two, it's very critical that whatever trails you're going in on, that you did your summertime work and cleared them. You don't want stuff hanging out everywhere that you're dragging and rubbing and bumping into everything.
Yeah.
Because trust me, a big buck comes walking through there and he's looking and smelling.
Well, the big one's been around for a while. Like, they don't get big on their first rack. Their second rack, they don't get big. You know what I mean? The deer that you want to harvest is 4.5, 5 years old. You know what I mean? That's what most guys, you know, that's...
Oh, yeah.
That's a big deer. I mean...
If you're going to get a 130-inch to 150-inch buck in Pennsylvania...
He's at least a 3-year-old. He's at least a 3-year-old.
He needs to be at least 3 years old. And that's something for everybody to learn. If you're not sure of how to estimate that, one thing I always tell people, you can always go online and look at pictures. Like, they'll show you different images.
A mature deer, a mature whitetail buck, he'll have a belly, and then just like a mature cow or a bull out in the field, you'll see him. He has a hump right there under his head. His head's wider, you know what I mean, thicker. He'll have that short Roman nose, and he'll have that hump, and his belly will be big. You know what I mean? And he just will. If you see a skinny deer with a little tiny neck, but he has a nice rack, albeit, I mean, if he's legal and you want him, that's on you. I mean, but to kill a mature deer, that's what he's going to look like.
Well, I've used this premise too. I know, obviously, we have the point restrictions in Pennsylvania, which has obviously helped to see a lot more. I would say 8 points and just more nicer quality bucks. But the way I've operated with guiding is, you know, I know people have different point restrictions at different places when you talk about guiding services. I'm sure you've seen it out west.
Oh, yeah.
It's a big thing.
Oh, yeah.
What I do, if you look at if a buck's looking at you, square at you, it's roughly 16 inches from ear to ear.
Yeah.
If their ears are sticking out, that gives you a good guide.
Oh,
so if a buck looks at you and you're looking at it head on, if you're really looking for a guide on age and whatnot, that's not your number one telltale sign. I mean, the thickness is a telltale sign. I've seen bucks that were only to their ears. We shot one a few years ago. It was a 13 point. But that thing was so thick.
Yeah,
you couldn't get your hands around the beam.
That's his genetics. He just didn't have the genetics for a wide rack. You know what I mean?
But then again, there's bucks that get 20-some inches.
Oh, yeah. I've seen them, yeah. I mean, my brother got one last year. That thing was 19 3/4 inches inside spread with giant long brow tines. You know what I mean? 8-point. He came right to the scrape in Greene County. It was beautiful whitetail.
Well, this isn't a normal year because we probably had one of the worst droughts I've ever seen, and I'm 37.
Yeah.
I think tactics are going to be a little different this year because the deer, you and I were talking about this earlier, the forage in the woods is not going to be nearly what it has been in years past. A lot of the stuff has dried. A lot of it's even been eaten.
Mm-hmm.
Give some people some pointers on where you see.
A lot of people's food plots didn't even come up. You know what I mean? If they try to fall food plot, it's no good. I mean, it just no rain. We had no rain this year. If you have a water hole on your land, I strongly suggest putting a stand very close to it because they're going to come to it, especially in this early season. You know what I mean? They're going to come to it. I mean, I have a trail camera right now on a pond.
I wholeheartedly agree with you. I think water and
mass crops.
Water, people that have mass crops and acorns.
Yeah.
I think those three things, if you utilize that for the first 3 weeks of season.
There's a lot of, I noticed more this year than the wild cherries, you know what I mean? Like raccoons will get up there and knock them down on the ground and the deer will eat them. There's a lot of wild cherries this year for some reason, and they'll eat them. A lot of acorns I've noticed, you know what I mean, being out.
What's the rubbery plant that gets the berries on it?
Yes, I know what you mean. Pokeberry or something.
Berry,
yeah,
there's
a lot of that.
They were hitting them hard this year. Because I noticed, because of the drought, I mean, they got into things that, I mean, they were eating at the farm, we have like flowers just for people to pick, but they were into like zinnias. I mean, they were eating everything. I mean, it was like, that goes to show
That's
you.
Because the only thing that really grows is weeds because of this drought, you know, and there's, you know, I was talking to some people with the EHD starting to hit again. That stinks. You know, they're finding a few dead ones now here and there. Hopefully we get a freeze soon and that does away with that midge.
Well, hopefully we get some rain because I've never seen it this dry. I know we've had some pretty dry spells in the past, but 6 weeks I remember used to seem like a long time. I mean, this has been since roughly, I want to say it was early June.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're running 3 months on very minimal, and the rain we did get was like from a one or.
Well, I tried to get a second cut in the hay for my cows, and it was wasted diesel. I mean, that's what it was, a wasted diesel trying to cut what I had left. But you know, I got to have it. I don't know what I'm going to do.
It's going to be a very you got to look for food sources. I can't stress this enough because the woods are not going to be normally the woods themselves. There's a lot of green even this time of the year.
Yeah, the browse isn't really not.
I'll tell you another thing too. I noticed is a lot of the leaves on the trees have been coming down.
Oh, it'll be early.
I mean, this is going to be a very early, which they will actually eat leaves when they drop. Fresh, soft leaves, especially after rain.
Maples, they seem like they really love them big yellow maple leaves.
So, again, little things that you can look for, what they'll eat, where they can eat. The deer definitely right now are along water sources.
Yeah.
If you have a creek or a pond or any type of water source, it almost feels like we're out in like Wyoming because they'll hunt the antelope over
and the elk and the wallows and all that. Yeah, I mean I would suggest, you know what I mean, trying to find some water. Hopefully we get some rain. But yeah, other than that, you know, a green field. There's still some green fields out there, and you know. Them deers will be out there in the fields in the evening.
Well, big hay fields are always good. So obviously, if you hunt near a space where hay fields are,
you know, like the field edge, like that buck, he'll make a field edge scrapes. You know what I mean? And that's, you know, when you find 3 or 4 of them on the edge of a field, one of the techniques that I've come accustomed to doing is getting a limb, a tree, that either had a buck rub on it before, or I'll just skin it and make it, and I'll secure it with the trapping stakes and drill a hole or dig a hole, put that in there, make it so you can't rip it down because they're going to come rub it. So you put the rub on there and have it right in the middle of your field, within 25 yards. And then I'll tie the hemp rope on there and put the undertaker underneath. He comes out in that field. He's going to come over to that every time, it seems like. And then the does will come too because it's just a beacon. And they're curious. A whitetail's a curious animal. So they say, well, there's one tree in the middle of a green field, and then they get close and they smell it. And they're like, oh, here. So he'll come around and he'll either make a scrape right beside of it or he'll rub on it. By that time, he's a dead duck. You're sitting on the edge of the field. He's wide open in the middle, right where you want him. And that's a technique that I've used over the years and been very successful with it.
If people are interested in any of these products, how do they go about getting them?
Well, you just go to www.apparitionscents.com and it'll pop right up on the first page and all the products are there. You just click on it and it places an order. Yeah. We have a promo code for this week and for the whole month of October, September and October. It's social. So if you type in social, where you type in the promo code on the website, from doing social media and, shows like this, it'll give you 10% off of your entire purchase.
So for any of the listeners out there, if you're interested in any of these products, go to
apparitionscents.com.
And under the code, you type social, SOCIAL. You'll get a 10% discount. I know myself, I've used some of this stuff in the past, and it was super successful. At a very minimum, I've had huge success with cover scent because I think people lose appreciation for the fact of how strong a deer's nose is. And it's, I rarely feel like it's the big buck you're looking for to hunt that gets you. It's that nosy doe.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than having a big doe blow out her nose at you. I mean, there's nothing worse than that. She catches you and starts blowing out her nose because she's old. You know what I mean? She's a 4 or 5 year old deer. She's been there, done that, had fawns, nurtured her fawns, raised her babies. She'd pick you out before most bucks for some reason. You know what I mean?
And I think that's a really critical piece of the puzzle for everybody out there because a deer, when you get into the fall, I feel like their defense mechanisms start going up because they know they got to be more cautious, conscientious. Their noses are their three things are their nose, their ears, and their eyes.
Yeah.
And if they smell you, they're gonna use that real loud and basically
the worst sound in the world.
And basically, it's like your hunt is ruined because everybody's on warning now.
Like the best sound in the world is hearing that gobbler gobble. The worst sound in the world is that doe blowing out her nose. I mean, that's just what it is. I
love hearing a turkey, but I'll tell you a big gobbler gobbling coming in is like thunder going off. But also, when you hear those leaves crunching. And there's a doe, and then right behind it, you hear.
Oh yeah, that's a good sound too.
And then here he comes walking right behind her. That's a very
that'll get your heart pumping.
Last year, that was how I killed my buck. He come right down the trail that I did scent with your stuff, had a scrape, and it was like clockwork. Just come right down. But it was the weirdest thing, and it just goes to show like you gotta when you're hunting in the rut. You got to have your head on a swivel because you never know where they're going to come from.
Exactly. Sometimes I hunt with the wind blowing to where I think the deers are going to come because I'm confident in my scent elimination, and I'm relying on my products blowing down that way, and I'm watching the way the wind's blowing. Like I've had guys tell me, "Well, I couldn't hunt that stand because the wind wasn't right." Well, how do you know where they're coming from?
Mm-hmm. Well, I can tell you from...
You know what I mean? I
hunted a stand, and I was on a gas line, but I was only probably about 50 yards from the field. Like, I like to tuck back just far enough.
Yeah. Transition area.
Yep. So, because, you don't want to be sticking out like a sore thumb where there's a huge body up in a tree and it's everybody, they can see you. They're like, oh. Well, anyways, I'm there and I could see the deer coming from a bedding area from behind me, and I'm waiting for them to come and go up to the field. Sure enough, I'm looking down at like 200 yards down the hill, and I can see this big buck. It was the buck that I was hunting. Out of nowhere, I hear a limb snap, and I hear, and here he comes right down the trail from the field. The opposite direction I've ever thought he was going to come from, and here he comes right back towards me. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
Comes the reverse direction of where I thought. So when you're in the rut, I mean, you got to like have your head on a swivel because they can come from anywhere because a lot of them some are cruising. Mm-hmm. Some, to your point, are locked up on a doe. And, you know, from my experience, I feel like the younger bucks are more full speed chase or like really rambunctious with the does. I feel like the big bucks, they're so darn dominant. They're almost like a shark kind of like they. Well,
he'll hang back. He's not going to run and chase them until she's absolutely ready because she wants to breed with the most dominant deer. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's just nature. Mm-hmm. So those young ones will have her all wore out, and then the big dog comes down there and he'll get with her when she's ready. And he'll just keep, it's like the tortoise and the hare. Like he's slow and steady, mm-hmm. and those young ones are like the hare, And once it's time, he'll whip them, or they won't even try to fight him. And some of the buck fights that I saw in Illinois and in the Midwest, when you get two of those 6-year-olds show up at the same time, it's bedlam. It's one of the most exciting things and scariest sounds that you'll ever hear. With those really mature
it's definitely when you get deer that size, and for those that obviously deer hunt, their neck swells, so they just look like prime boxers almost going into a fight. Mm-hmm. And I hate to say it, sometimes there's one of them can kill the other one.
Oh yeah,
and
it's a war.
They'll break their neck or whatever they do, or they'll
break their horns up. Like you get a big dominant deer in your area, he'll break up all your like one place I was hunting a couple of years ago, there was just a giant 10-point I was after, and I'm like, that's my deer. That's the one I want to hunt. I had a 6-point in there that wasn't legal, but he was 5 years old. He was the dominant buck in that area, but he only had 6 points. And he fought everybody in there or chased everybody else out and broke them off in fights, like broke their points. So like that 10-point came in, he had half of a half rack on one side, and every point on this other side was snapped off.
Well, I definitely I want to have you back because I know you're an avid upland bird hunter. One, which is many conversations, and two, I know you're an avid trapper.
Yeah.
And I think I've talked a lot about this on past shows. Trapping is not only critical for predator control, but also a lot of people don't understand how that connects with turkeys.
They kill the babies. They kill the fawns.
Deer.
Yeah.
It goes on right on down the line. Squirrels, chipmunks. I mean, all these predators, if we don't do our part to try to manage them, because to the point even with deer, if we didn't shoot any deer, there would be no farms in Pennsylvania because they would just basically continue to populate, and
then have a massive die-off with the disease.
So, excuse me, it's our role to do the best we can as conservationists. In my opinion, all these things are part of conservation. We want to target that big buck. You got to have the little bucks to come up. But also, I think it's critical too. Like if you see that buck that's got bad genetics, sometimes you got to take one for the team for your own land or even for that area. If it's got a funky rack or whatever, you want to get that out of the herd because you don't want that gene pool continuing to pass down.
Yeah, exactly.
But tell people one last time, Dave. So again, Dave is located in Greene County, Pennsylvania. So please, small business. here in PA, so please support him. But tell them one last time how they can go ahead and get some of these products.
Yeah, well, we sell it at Creek Archery down in Yukon, Pennsylvania. We have Loyal Hannah Arrow up in Latrobe area. We have Ozzy's and High Strung Motorsports in Greene County that carry the products. If you want to support those guys, this weekend, actually, if you want to hear more about the products, I'll be doing a seminar on Saturday and a seminar on Sunday at the Fayette County Fairgrounds at the Deer Beer and Gear Expo, which sounds like an exciting time, you know what I mean? So if you want to come out to the show, I'll have a booth set up.
What time is that set up this weekend?
It starts Friday at 10 in the morning, and I think 9 in the morning till dark on Saturday and Sunday, and it's at the Fayette County Fairgrounds.
Well, if anybody's available this weekend, please check out the Fayette County Fairgrounds. I will not be there as of right now. I actually have a humongous habitat project I'm doing on a stream that has been an utter nightmare, and I think people have heard a little bit about this over my past episodes. So I am trying to put that to bed and hopefully get that completed. And if anybody ever wants to see what we're doing with habitat improvement, by all means, come out to the Marion Outdoorsman Association. But Dave, it's been a pleasure.
Hey, thank you very much. And all this stuff is yours. So
well, thank you. I greatly appreciate it.
You're geared up for the season.
Well, hey, for today, I'm Jason White. This has been The Great Outdoors. Please check us out next week as we continue our journey through this upcoming hunting season. God bless. Have a great week and enjoy your weekend, everyone.